What's going on, everybody? In this episode, I go head to head with the beast known as the stock market, and one of my greatest fears as a trader becomes a reality. We'll discuss that and more in this week's episode as we hunt down some monstrous profits and try to recover from last week's mistakes. For those that are new here, I'm Jordan, and this is Degenerate Candlesticks. Starting off, let's take a look at last week's metrics. Last week, we took 3 trades that ultimately ended in a 40-cent loss. Now, if you look at the averages, it's not so much as a step backwards as a step sideways. But we're really going to have to crush it this week if we want to make up for lost time. With that, let's get to this week's trades. Now, I started this week as I do every week by checking the scanners.
What's with the light show?
It's an intimidation display.
RDHL caught my eye as it was one of the stocks I traded last week. However, it was too early to have any sort of pattern, so I kept looking. I ended up settling on VIEW. Now, I wouldn't be able to tell right away, but this stock would be the beast that destroys my account. I end up buying 1,000 shares at roughly $1.72.
You might want to rethink that.
Why?
Something's not right. Check this out.
And initially, things looked good. The price continued to go up, and my position had made about $55. However, things were about to take a turn for the worse, as I went from being up $55 to being down $65, and then being down $100, and then being down $175. This was the sell-off point that I knew was coming, but greed convinced me otherwise. I ended up closing my position at roughly $1.53 share price for a total of $187 loss. And while this sounds bad, it gets worse. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this content, if you could do me a favor and hit either that like or subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it, as it really helps out the channel. But with that, let's get back to how I blow up my account. So, because I was using an OCO safety order template, a stop order and a limit order were placed anytime I would buy or sell. The key phrase being there, or sell, because when I sold my position, it also created a purchase order for 1,000 shares, which unfortunately went through, filling at $1.57.
This is how he survived for so long. Always adapting, evolving. It's incredible.
Luckily for me, it teetered around my purchase point for a while, and even looked like it could have turned my position around for the day. However, I wasn't going to be that lucky, as it just didn't have enough momentum, and it looked like it was about to drop. So I closed my position, taking an additional $5.11 loss, bringing my total losses to $192.11. Pretty sure that's going to affect the metrics. Great. With the sale confirmed, I get a notification reminding me that this was my 3rd trade within 5 business days, as I took a trade last Tuesday. So that wraps up this week's trading for me. I'm going to have to come up with a new plan of attack for next week and try and recover some of my lost funds. But with that, let's get to the trade recap. While most of the indicators looked good, the Bollinger Bands were a clear sign that the price was about to drop, and I still bought anyway. Strike number 1. I repeated the same mistake as last week by ignoring my indicators. That's strike 2. And while I do believe VIEW presented a good chance for profit, I let greed get the better of me, and I held on too long. So that's strike number 3. So overall, I can only give myself 2 out of 5 stars. And while the OCO template does provide a certain safety net, it ultimately led me to my downfall. And I had predicted as such a few weeks ago when I had similar issues. So from now on, I'm just going to be using the single order template and hoping for the best. But that wraps up this week's episode of Degenerate Candlesticks. What was the biggest loss you ever had in your account, and how did you handle it? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear about it. And if you're enjoying the content, if you could do me a favor and hit that like or subscribe button, it really helps the channel, and I'd greatly appreciate it. But with that, I'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.